earning all you can. We don't earn all we can so that we can amass for ourselves hordes and hordes of money so that no one can ever be blessed by it. That's not the idea of earning all we can, okay? We work hard for what we have, and we do the best that we can with that, and we want to earn all that we can so that we can be a blessing to others through our giving, okay? And so this week we're going to talk about saving all you can. Joseph was 30 years old when he began to serve Pharaoh and Egypt's king, and when he left Pharaoh's court and traveled through the entire land of Egypt, he saw 7 years of abundance. Okay, and he collected all the food and he stored them in the grain houses because he knew following the 7 years of abundance was going to be 7 years of famine. All right, we all know that in life we have good times, right, and we have bad times, right? We know that if you invest in the stock market at all, sometimes you make money, sometimes you lose money, right? And so we know that these things happen. And so in order to be better prepared for the famine that was going to happen, God gave Joseph a message. And he said, here's what's going to happen. 7 years of good stuff, lots of food and abundance. And then there's going to be 7 years of nothing. And so what I need you to do is believe in me and to store up all you can so that in the years of famine, you can be a blessing to others. You see, Joseph saved to save people, to save families and businesses and places that were needed around him. Joseph saved to save. John Wesley actually does have a sermon called The Use of Money, and I'm going to use several quotes from that today because I think it's important for us to get an idea of what he thinks. And he says, having gained all you can by honest wisdom and unwearied diligence, the second rule of Christian prudence is save all you can. Do not throw the precious talent into the sea. Leave that folly to heathen philosophers. Do not throw it away on idle expenses, which is just the same as throwing it into the sea. Expend no part of it merely to gratify the desire of the flesh, the desire of the eye, or the pride of life. And so the question for us becomes this: why do we save? Why do we save? There's probably lots of reasons we save. One, we save for retirement, right? Because we hope one day we'll not have to work at a normal job and we can just enjoy life with our friends and family, right? Sometimes we save if we're going to purchase a large item, right? We save up our money so that we can purchase the thing free and clear of any debt, which is the idea of saving. Sometimes we save just for the desire of building up our own pride. Look how much money I have. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes we save to seek applause or to get recognition, to make that Forbes top 100 list, right? Sometimes we do those things. But other times, do we save so that we can help others? Do we save so that we can help others? Do we save with others in mind? Do we save knowing that some portion of whatever we're saving we're going to give back to people who are in need? Whatever portion that is that you've set aside to do that. Do we save with those things in mind? Or are we only saving to build up ourselves and our own family fortune? Some of us might call it a fortune. Some of us might call it a cushion. Some of us might call it that doesn't exist. Why do we save? Do you save like Joseph did? Do you save to save others? John Wesley goes on to say, do not waste any part of so precious a talent merely in gratifying the desires of flesh, in procuring the pleasures of sense or whatever kind, particularly in enlarging the pleasure of tasting. Cut off all this expense, despise delicacy and variety, and be content with what plain nature requires. We have a problem, United States of America, because we don't agree with that, do we? We like nice, shiny, fancy new things. We like delicacies. We like going out and getting expensive things. Sometimes things we can't even afford. We find ourselves in debt and stretching ourselves just to merely survive and put food on the table. I had a hard time with this one a little bit because John Wesley talks about procuring the pleasures of sense of whatever kind, particularly in enlarging the pleasure of tasting. Cut off the expense, despise delicacy and variety. Friends, I like delicacy and variety. Some of you who know me know that I love to barbecue. Anybody here like eating barbecue? All right. So I love to barbecue. I actually get more enjoyment out of the actual smoking of the meat than I do of partaking in the eating of it. Okay. I love barbecue, and so for me to think about throwing barbecue on a grill without any rub on it is like, what in the world is going on, right? Because that's delicacy, that's variety, that's the spice of life, right? And I like to mess around with the different varieties, and I like to spend money on it, and I like to spend time doing it, and it's very important for me down to the wood, the fuel that I use. It's important for me, okay? It's important. And so I go and I pay a little extra for things because I want the nicest of the things because I think it tastes the best. But here's the other thing, friends. I don't grill so that I can get a pat on the back. I don't grill so that I would get applause. I don't spend money because I can. What I love to do, what I really love to do, is I love to barbecue for others. I love spending my time doing something that I believe God has helped me with learning to do and giving it to others. That's what I like to do. I like to invite people over. I like to have cookouts and sit with one another and talk and build relationships and do things that are good as opposed to buying things and doing with things that have really no enjoyment or benefit no one in this life. I'm sure there's some things that you can think about that you do as well that maybe only benefit self and doesn't benefit somebody else. And we have to, at some point as Christians, begin to think about, why are we doing these things? If it doesn't benefit anybody but me, why am I doing this? If it's only about selfish ambition and pride and building ourselves up, why do we continue to do it? If we're going to amass a ton of money and never use it for any good, never use it to serve anyone else, never use it so that we can invite people over and share our faith and our experience of life with them, then why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? John Wesley goes on to say, "Do not waste any part of so precious a talent merely in gratifying the desire of the eye by superfluous," I had to practice that word, superfluous, by superfluous or expensive apparel, or by needless ornaments. Waste no part of it in curiously adorning your houses in superfluous or expensive furniture, in costly pictures, painting, gilding, books, and elegant rather than useful gardens. Guilty. If I made a list of all the things that paragraph describes, I am guilty, okay? I have nice things. I have fancy things. I have things that I don't need. Anybody else feel in that boat? Do you have things you don't need? Yes, we all have things we don't need. We have things we really wanted, right? But we also have things that we don't need, right? We have things we don't need. So if you're guilty as well as me, I know, if you think about it, I know that our walls would be super bare in our house if we didn't ever buy anything to adorn the walls with, right? Would it be boring to look at the walls? Yes, it would. Would I have more money? Yep. But that's just a plain simple fact. I would. I'd have more. I would have been able to save money or do something else with that money as opposed to put a picture on my wall. If y'all are feeling guilty, don't feel too bad, because I am guilty as well. All right? This is all about making us look at money a little bit differently. Look at what's important in our lives. Someone once told me, if you want to know what's important in your life, look at your bank statement and see where you spend all your money. Well, mine says mainly Walmart. So I guess they get most of my money. John Wesley goes on to say this: "Lay out nothing to gratify the pride of life, to gain the admiration or praise of men. This motive of expense is frequently interwoven with one or both of the former. Men are expensive in diet, or apparel, or furniture, not barely to please their appetite or to gratify their eye, their imagination, but their vanity too." So, if you merely just want to show it off, you don't need it. I'm speaking to any guy, and especially this guy, okay? If you wanted to merely show it off, you don't need it. Sounds so simple, right? Now, in my experience, women and men do this differently, and this isn't always the case. I understand that some women will fall into the category I'm about to explain, but I'm a guy, so I'm going to go there, okay? Men tend to buy cars, electronics, sports memorabilia, all just to show it off to their buddies. This is my experience. Now again, some women do this as well. Of course, there are other things that men buy according to their interests as well, but we also can get the idea, right? We buy things, in my experience, as a man, I buy things to show them off to my buddies. Look at the new fishing pole I got, woo! Right? This thing will whiz that lure way over there, skip it right across the water, bing, 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 bing. Right? Look at the new boat I'm pulling. Look at the new truck I got. We do these things to build ourselves up. Women do these things in different ways. I'm not a woman. I'm not going to speak to that. For fear of being in trouble. You all can figure it out, though. You know what I'm talking about. So these things don't make friends, okay? If we're going to buy things just merely to show off, these things don't make friends. These are the things that actually can cause our friends to sin by deeply wanting or coveting what we have. If we're doing it so we can say, ha, ha, I have this and you don't, guess what it's going to do? It's going to cause them to sin by coveting after what you have. And should we cause someone else to sin because of the things we want to have and show off? No, that's sin. If you cause someone to sin, it is a sin, okay? That's just the simple work of it, all right? And so we don't want to do those things, right? We have to watch ourselves. We have to be careful why we're buying things. If we're buying something that's really nice because we actually really do need it for our job or for our work or to transport our family from here to there, we want to make sure we have nice and safe and things like that for our family. We want to do those things, right? But if we're doing it just so we can show it off, friends, that's where we get ourselves into big trouble. That's where we, as a whole nation, has gotten into a big trouble because we always have to have the next best thing, the next big thing. Here's what's next. John Wesley continues and he says, who would expend anything in gratifying these desires if he considered that to gratify them is to increase them? Nothing can be more certain than this. Daily experience shows the more they are indulged, they increase the more. Whenever, therefore, you expend anything to please your taste or other senses, you pay so much for sensuality. When you lay out money to please your eye, you give so much for an increase of curiosity, for a stronger attachment to these pleasures which perish in the using. While you are purchasing anything which men use to applaud, you are purchasing more vanity. Had you not then enough of vanity, sensuality, curiosity before? Was there need of any addition, and would you pay for it too? What matter of wisdom is this? Would not the literal throwing your money into the sea be less mischievous in folly? Don't buy stuff you don't need. Don't give in to the desires of your heart. As the notorious B.I.G. said, mo money, mo problems. Some of you will get that, some of you won't. But it's so, so true. I did some research of Purdue's Department of Psychology. They did a study on how much money it takes to be happy. Are you interested? How much money does it take to be happy? I have a number in mind. Before I read the article, I had a number in mind. It was not that number, okay? They say this. To live a life of satisfaction, people say they need to make $95,000 a year, okay? To live a life that is full of emotional well-being, people say they need $60,000 to $75,000 a year. And the numbers increase a little bit if they have kids, okay, obviously. The study found that once this idea amount was reached by any person, any further increase in the wages actually resulted in being less happy. And here's why. They were less happy because what they found was people begin to compare themselves to others. Do you know what the results of this study were? Here's what they concluded at the Purdue Department of Psychology. They concluded this. The more you have, the more you want. Woo! That took a whole department of psychology to figure that out. The more you have, the more you want. Okay? John Wesley said it a couple hundred years ago. Notorious B.I.G. said it in the 90s. All right? More money, more problems. The more you have, the more you want. Okay? And that's just how it works. I don't understand it. I don't know why, but it's for some reason the psychology in our minds tells us the more we have, the more we want, because it's just not enough. We just need to increase upon increase upon increase upon increase. And what's actually interesting about us, friends, is as Christians, Jesus Christ calls us to decrease ourselves so that he might be greater. And yet our society says increase, increase, increase. Why are you saving? Are you saving to save? John Wesley says, why should you throw away money upon your children? Sorry, kids. Boom. John Wesley said it, okay? Any more than upon yourself. Why should you throw money upon your children? Any more than upon yourself. In delicate food, and gay or costly apparel, and superfluities, that's a good word, of any kind. Why should you purchase for them more pride or lust, more vanity or foolish and hurtful desires? They do not want any more. They have enough already. I can look at my kids because they're in the front row, okay? Are you looking at yours, Brad? Okay. Yeah, right? They don't need any more. They have enough already. Nature has made ample provision for them. Why should you be at farther expense to increase their temptations and snares and to pierce them through with more sorrows? For your good, kids, that we don't give you anything, all right? It is for your good sometimes that we say no. So, of course, we want to give our kids things we didn't have growing up, right? We want to give our kids those things. We want them to have a better life, whatever that might be, a better life than we had, even if we had good lives growing up. We want to give them stuff. We want to do that for our kids because we love them. But then we go and we complain when the stick in the yard isn't good enough for them. We go and complain and we think about, remember the days when we used to just stay outside and ride our bikes in the neighborhood all day long and we didn't come home till the street lights came on, right? Remember those days? You also remember in those days we didn't have the cell phones and the electronics that the kids do now? Do you think that we would have been any different if we lived in today's time? No. We would be playing on our cell phones and all the different game systems and doing all those things that our kids are doing as well. We'd be doing those things. So we want to give our kids everything we have, but then we want to complain when the simple things that we experience as children are not good enough. We complain when they whine about not having the latest iPhone or headphones or video gaming systems. As parents, we can't have both, all right? But as parents, we can instill good morals, wise money-making sense into our children to help them to understand that the cost of a video game is between $60 and $75, and do you know how many hours I have to work in order to pay for that game? Oh, well, that becomes a little different. Something I've also noticed is that as my children have gotten jobs, they have realized the cost of things. I have to work 6 hours just to pay for that? Uh-huh. Now you know why I said no. Yeah. Do not leave it to them, talking about money in our kids. Don't leave it to them to throw away. If you have good reason, John Wesley says, if you have good reason to believe that your kids would waste what is now in your possession in gratifying and thereby increasing the desire of their own flesh, the desire of their own eyes, and the pride of their own lives, at the peril of their own souls, do not put these traps in their way. Do not offer your sons and daughters unto Belial any more than unto Moloch. Have you pity on them and remove out of their way what you may easily foresee would increase their sins and consequently plunge them deeper into everlasting perdition. That is tough, right? That's tough. That's a tough word by John Wesley. We want to leave our kids something besides debt, right? We want to leave our kids something. Something to remember us by, something to maybe make their lives better, something to bless them with before as we leave this earth. We want to do that for our kids. But if they won't do any good with it, why would we do that? If they won't do any good with it, why would we do that? That's a good question. Wesley is saying, why not use it for good right now? If you know that your kids are going to squander it away on things that you don't approve of, whatever that might be, why not use it for good right now? Why not use it to bless somebody right now? Why not use it as you have stored it up to save someone from peril, from starvation, from homelessness, from sickness, from disease? Why not use it for good right now? Friends, just two more things that I want to, well, just one more thing really I want to share with you is this. John Wesley's final thoughts on saving all you can are these. Let not any man or woman imagine that he or she has done anything barely by going thus far, by gaining and saving all they can. Gaining and saving all we can is not the end road. If we are to stop here, it's not good. All this is nothing if a man or woman does not go forward, if he or she does not point all this at a farther end, nor indeed can a man or woman properly be said to save anything if they only lay it up. You may as well throw your money into the sea, bury it in the earth. You may as well bury it in the earth and as in your chest or in the Bank of England or how about the Bank of Washington. Not to use is effectively to throw it away. If therefore you would indeed make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, then you should add the third rule. Friends, not to use is to throw it away. If it's not going to be used for the glory of God, it's just like throwing it in the sea, burying it in the ground, hiding it in our chest, keeping it in the bank. It helps nobody. And we have to be careful when all we do is store up for ourselves, or we might just become the people who are unrighteously worshiping Mammon, the god of money. John Wesley says we can't just earn all we can and save all we can. We must have the third rule of how to use money. The third rule is this. First, gain all you can. Second, save all you can. Third, give all you can. Give all you can. Jesus is only asking for everything. And everything is all I can give because he gave me everything. He gave me himself. He gave me salvation. He gave me love. He gave me a beautiful family, great friends. He gave me this church and the people in it. He gave me the community that I live in, the state that I love, and the nation that I would not ever want to leave. Jesus is only asking for everything because he gave everything. So we're going to talk about that next week, how we might be able to give all we can. We don't want to hurt ourselves or our families. We want to give all we can to help others. Amen.
If you would please all rise and join together in our hymn of response. All I need is you.